Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to LIMA Online. Tonight, we're going to talk about Audience Before a Mirror, a work by Dan Graham based on an iconic performance he did in 1977. And it has inspired many artists to do so-called reinterpretations of this work or to work with this work. And as you probably know, you're currently not seeing me, the moderator of this event, but you're seeing one of tonight's participants, which is Jan Robert Leegte. Hello, Jan Robert Leegte.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah, sure. It's good to be back. Nice.
It's good to have you back. And I wonder what we are currently looking at.
Yeah, that is a bit strange. As you see, you're not looking at a normal Zoom window, but at a browser window. And you're looking at mirror.leegte.org, uh, which is actually the work I created for the Unfold Dan Graham Reinterpretation Festival. Um, um, and yeah, so that was the cool. I mean, Dan Graham's always been high on my list, and especially the work we're talking about. I don't know. It was quite funny. We had the whole discussion, of course, on the evening of the festival, and it's often seen as such a technical. I don't know, technical enterprise, but I think it's nearly a work of, I would one say, of existential questions. It's such a confronting work. It can really blast you away. And that's what I did when I saw it for the first time many years ago. Um, and so it's very much about reflecting yourself literally and sort of hyper alertness of you in the world. So of course I've made this web-based work, and you're looking at it right now. So it's a webcam which kicks off and mirrors you in under the domain name. And what you see me is I'm just playing around with my mouse, sort of touching my own skin. And there is a little mouse which copies everything I do. So there's an echo going on in my gesture. Very much akin to Graham, of course, being the echo to the gestures of the audience or himself. And of course, you are your own mouse control. So you're also echoing your own gesture, or the computer is echoing it. So in this case, the machine is being the echo. But as it is a public work, you can participate in it as well, just as Graham had the audience participate. So anybody can go here and just interact with the piece and see how the piece reacts to themselves.
Yeah, I
Very
think
subtle.
maybe we should invite people actually to explore explore the work themselves.
Yeah,
I've just put
definitely.
the link in the chat.
Yeah.
So I think that really is the real experience, so to say, which is a funny thing to say, real experience when we're talking about reinterpretations. But if you see
Mhm.
yourself mirrored, it is like a very alienating experience. And I think that's exactly what Dan Graham's piece also is about.
Yeah.
So just to give you a bit more context, we're gonna watch this work by Dan Graham in a second, that we're all on the same page. But Lima has initiated last year that was part of a bigger project that we already do over the course of many years, which is Unfold, in which we search for new ways of getting works across, new ways of preserving existing artworks in various forms. And we have asked Jan Robert and Emile Ziel, amongst others, to reinterpret the work by Dan Graham from 1977 to see which elements of this historical work can be translated into newer media, into different forms. And yeah, you have seen Jan Robert performing his own work now for quite a while. But perhaps, indeed, we're going to switch now. Oh, that's nice.
What about fun people?
We're going to switch now to the work that it all started with, and we'll be back after to chat a bit more about it. So I would say, play the tape.
I'm standing with my 2 hands in my pocket, both thumbs out, rocking back and forth, stationary, rocking from left to right. My head looks up, now it looks down again. I'm relatively small, maybe 5'7.5" My feet are splayed apart, and my position is very balanced, extremely balanced and very static. Quite immobile. I'm talking to the ground, but now as I say that, the head goes up. I'm still static, the head goes down again. Now I rock back and forth differently, breaking the body into 2 sections, the belt being the center, and going back and forth twice. Now my stomach is sticking more out than in, and as I say that, there's a slight reaction, so the body straightens out. And then the shoulders try to straighten, and there's a hunching movement on the shoulders, and the head looks up to make eye contact with the audience, somewhat. And just as I say that, there's a sort of half turn on the torso, and all the way to shift it to the foot on the audience's left. And I'm looking now not at the audience, but at the wall on the side, turning slightly more to the side and balancing on one foot, the heel of the other foot, the back of the other foot going up, almost a very slow motion, acrobatic shot. Now I'm totally out of balance, twisting. And now it goes back slightly to the position of before. It returns, now it goes back. I look up, the head looks down. Again, the weight is on only one foot, the foot on the audience's left, but the position is more balanced, and it seems to be, now it's balancing completely. And again, it goes back, weight going on that one foot to the side. And after saying that, I decide to walk in the other direction, which puts toward the wall, which puts the weight on the foot on the audience's right side. Now I'm rocking back and forth. On the toe of the other foot that's in the air, and on the ball of the foot that's placed stationary. And the head looks up. And now there seems to be a walking movement, again toward that wall, looking up at the wall, as if expecting to look at something on the wall, examining details. Now the head going down again. The feet are splayed apart somewhat. The hands haven't changed, thumb sticking out. And after saying that, the hand on the audience's right goes up and scratches the back of the head, scratching all the way down, and seeming to knead the back of the head, the muscles in the back of the head, trying to relax the body. Now turning, looking at the audience's, slightly at the audience's left side. And as I do that, a very strange rocking back and forth, but hunching the body in the pelvic area, but rocking back and forth. And there seems to be a movement slightly backward, which didn't progress. Now the movement is back in the direction the piece began in, but walking toward the other wall, straight at the other wall. Then a turn, meeting the audience, looking straight at the audience, as if to make eye contact. Head goes down again, looking at the feet. Now the hands haven't changed, but it seems that the body is balanced on the other foot, the foot on the audience's right side. And as I say that, there's a half movement on the foot, toward the foot that was not taking the weight, and now it takes the weight. And the body straightens out. And it looks like eye contact is made with the audience. Now a strange kind of half bowing gesture, as if bowing in the direction of the audience, although that attitude could mean many things. And then the shrug of the shoulders. And then the head goes up, looking slightly above the audience, looking at the audience, and seeing that the audience is looking rather rapidly at me, that generally people have their hands, their arms together, holding their arms against their body somewhat. Either one hand holding another hand, or the 2 arms tucked in. And that hasn't changed. It's true basically of people in the second row and some of the first row, also the third row. Now there's slight movement, everyone's doing individual things. They laugh as I say that. People had wiped their eyes. Some of the hands went to the face. There's a funny kind of smile, almost a silly smile, a bemused smile. There's a giggle. Someone spoke in the center of the audience, And now they're more amused as they look at me. Not bemused, more amused. They're a little less silly. No one is particularly, people are grinning. The grins grow much broader. Now the people in the back seem much more serious, intently staring or moved back against the wall. And as I said that, there was a kind of collective sigh, but a very tense sigh. Some people now are laughing. It's more of a nervous laughter, a release of tension. And as I say that, there's a different kind of laughter, more of a chuckle. Now people have moved their head, looking almost at each other, straightening their head out. And as I say that, they break into laughter again. And again, it's a more animated laughter, a jolly kind of laughter. People shift around. Everyone's doing this collectively. Someone coughs. The people have actually, when I said that, shifted their feet, shifted their position of the lower part of their body. Now there's a certain sigh from some people in the front. And I think people now are not staring quite as rapidly. They're moving their heads just a little bit to one side or the other. Still maintaining, they're looking more or less directly at me. So now someone isn't, another person isn't. People are not, it's a very opaque quality their faces have at the moment. Now they're as if they're more abstracted, thinking about something. They're not all looking at me directly. And as I say that, there's some blinks. Many people are blinking. Everyone in the center is blinking. The people I was looking at were blinking. Now there's a kind of slow, bemused smile, getting slightly wider as I speak. Very, very slow. No laughter. Yeah. Trying to see the people in the back seem just as serious as before. Now it seems the people in the center are the most relaxed. The people in about the second and third rows. The people on the sides are yawning, or they're a little bit off to the side, thinking about other things. My stare must be directed much more to the center. It seems those people are responding in a much more humorous way to the piece. Now it's hard to see. Now everyone is looking away for a second. Now they maintain, the attention comes back as they look at me. People are doing some people are doing some things with their lips, tucking their lips in a little bit. I think the mouths are much closer than they were before. For a second there was smiles, eyes light up, much more eye and lip smiles than before. The two seem coordinated. People are blinking again. And as I look at myself, I see that I'm wearing, my mouth, the bottom of my lips are open somewhat and I'm looking down. The eyes are very strange. It looks like I'm almost frowning. And as I move forward, it looks like my lips are quite open as I speak, hanging very, very loose. But there's a lot of tension in the eyes and the jaw. I seem very, very, very statue-like. Very small movements now with the thumb. Looking down at the feet. Again, the feet are splayed in a certain direction, so that the balance is on one foot and not the other, taking maybe 2/3 of the body weight. And as I look up, I'm looking at my eyes, which are kind of light brown color, and the mouth still hangs open somewhat. My throat moves as I speak, and I look up almost toward the top. It looks like I haven't looked at the audience, that I'm really obsessed with looking at myself, in very, very tight. And as I say that, I move slightly back, and there's a half smile at the sides of my mouth. The hands are the same, except the hand, the finger on one side, which is my left side, goes up and down a little bit, as if to accentuate or make a body comment on what I'm saying as I say it. And now there's a half smile showing the top of my teeth as I speak. But again, I seem very, very static. Now tossing the head to the side a little bit. I must not be looking at myself for 1 second. And now dangerously kicking with one foot and back again, stamping as if in some kind of anger or disgust. I'm doing it with the other foot, as if to cancel that out or to make it into a symmetrical gesture. And now balancing completely on one foot, which is kind of a silly gesture because I almost lose my balance. And going back and establishing a pose of solidity. Hands haven't moved. Now both fingers are moving at the same time. out of the pocket, but there's that funny rocking movement that happened before at the torso, so the belt is the center. And now I seem to be more or less tilting the top of my body in the direction of the mirror. Now I go back, straighten out. The shoulder is, again, going back to release some kind of tension. One hand, my right hand, comes out of my pocket and is kind of massaging the back of my neck, and there's a certain smile. I look up again, look down at the side. Now I'm looking at the audience. People in the audience are laughing, and they were talking to each other, which hadn't happened before. The laughter is a very amused kind of laughter, as if they're enjoying some very, very funny film. Now there's a more of a burst of laughter, a chuckle. People are behaving in a much more individual way, more characteristic of themselves, all of them seeming to enjoy themselves. It's strange that they're still blinking, even though there's no direct eye contact being made. Now I was trying to look at the people in the very back of the audience, and it seems that they're a little bit more relaxed now. And they're smiling for the first time as I say that. It's, I would say pretty much everyone has the same attitude except people along the sides, not including one person in the front row on the side, but everyone else on the side. And these are people who really, first they have to tilt their heads quite a bit to see, but they're not actually looking at me. They're looking down, or they're looking through me. They're certainly not laughing. I don't see anyone on the side laughing. Now the people, it's real hard to see. Now as I'm walking around, people are loosening up quite a bit. They're moving their body around almost as I move my body around, but then they tighten up again. More tightening up their legs. Now people are doing very different things with their hands. In the beginning, everyone had their arms tucked together, but now it seems everyone's in a different position. Some people are holding their hands to their lips, some are holding their hand to the other hand. Other people are sort of meditating, using their fist as a balance for their head, rocking back and forth. It's as if people now are more at a lecture, and they're trying to find a good posture. They seem to be very much themselves, very contained inside themselves, all using their normal, formal posture. Now I'm walking back to the mirror, almost directly to the mirror, touching the mirror, and I look back for a second nervously as I bump against the mirror, and then I walk forward again. Hands still in the pocket in the same way, but the two fingers much more symmetrical as I approach the audience, look up, seeming to make direct eye contact, walk back. It's almost as if I'm creating a file in the center. And I continue the same thing, walking toward the audience in a much more measured way, and back again in a more measured way. It's hard to know what this signifies. Now I look up at the audience. It's as if I want to acknowledge that the audience and I are making communication, but I look down very quickly after that, looking at the floor most of the time. Look up again as I said that, look down. Raising of the shoulders very quickly, this time not bending them back, but raising them up and down. And now I decide to turn, make almost a pirouette to face the mirror, but decide better, go back to face the direction of the audience, one foot, a little in advance of the other foot, and walking forward. I'm slightly off center. Now I look up, and I look down again. The foot on the left side, the audience's right side, tilts, and now is at right angles to the other foot. A very unnatural gesture. It's as if I'm pointing in two directions at the same time. I don't know whether I want to speak to the wall, or the floor, or to the audience. Perhaps. Just as I say that, I go back, splaying the legs out very, very wide, making them even wider as I say this, and looking up at the audience. I'm almost losing my balance, and the legs, the feet coming together again in a much more natural position. Looking at the audience, making eye contact with the audience. The audience is now sighing as if they're getting ready for something to happen. And again, The center people tend to be smiling somewhat. The people on the side are not looking directly at me. Some of them looking a little bit worried. The two people on the side. Now there's a gasp from the audience, and I think everyone's smiling, kind of release what happened. Now the audience seems very rapt, almost hypnotized. The smile is the same. Now people move their heads. Some people scratching themselves, other people not looking directly at me. Very few people looking directly at me. Now, that's continued with people in the front row looking all to the other, looking at the wall, and a very puzzled expression appears on someone's face in the front row. Quizzical expression, might be a better description.
Hello and welcome back. Welcome to maybe a less confusing setting, just with me here and Jan Robert. Hi, Jan Robert.
Hey, hi there.
Jan Robert there. So yeah, we started with like the work by Jan Robert, and I hope you took the time to experience it yourself. And then there was the performance where it all started with by Dan Graham, and I saw it many times, but I still enjoy seeing it so much every time. It was it took place at the Appel, by the way, so the Appel Art Center back in the days. Yeah, what I enjoy so much about it is actually also the status of the video, because it was a performance that was taking place in a space, which was in a way demonstrating the technicity of the video feedback loop. So like Graham transposed a technological element to a physical space, but the documentation of it really adds this additional layer. It almost looks like everyone also sees the video camera as a screen, and you see this the most clearly at the moment that there's this guy like looking into the camera and touching his ear, almost like as if he was looking in a mirror. But I think it's a really a moment where the documentation of a work can really create a new work or add like additional meaning or layer to a work. So yeah, what's the most striking in the work for you, Jan Robert?
This piece, yeah, as I said, I've always seen it as a. It's nearly like incantation, or sort of it's this ritual. It's I think I mentioned it briefly when talking at the festival. I remember as a kid always when looking in the mirror long enough, the sort of you would create a dissociation with yourself. Probably not everybody experienced that, but I've met people who've had that as well. So if you just stare long enough in your own eyes in the mirror, you can decouple yourself from your own body, because then sort of you are there. So where am I? So you can really sort of dissociate yourself. And then you come in a very weird space. and it's an interesting space. It can be a bit frightful even. It has it's definitely an interesting experience. But this dissociative space is also something I thought Graham is also creating by this hard mirroring. So people at the beginning are a bit uncomfortable, but you can also go in a sort of trance in which you do sort of transpose your point of focus, and you can sort of dissociate with the place where you are. So for a lot of people, I find it was funny, have the response like, I find it quite an annoying sort of literal thing he's doing. And I'm like, you might not have gone deep enough into this sort of meditation, which it is practically. And I mean, the fact that he does it so long already, I think, proves that it takes an effort really. And you see also in the audience, there's these waves of participation. So in the beginning, this is like these waves of laughter, and then they become silent, and they get the self-awareness. So I mean, you could definitely relate it to like Abramovich's work. There's an endurance aspect to it, which is deliberate. It's not just a short little trick. And that I found always, quite profound and special about this work.
It's funny that you mentioned this endurance, because I think that's also exactly what you touch upon in your work. That at first you can think like it might be superficial. I just like see myself, but it also needs for a longer process to really start feeling what you just described.
Yeah,
and I think the evening at Lima, you staged that so to way by inviting a performer to perform your work. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because I think he took us on this journey of endurance in the room.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So this work I made, mirror.lathe.org, was I made in reaction to the reenactment question, and it was based on a work I made in 2003 called mousepointer.name. It's also a web-based work, which was just a gray background with a mouse pointer following each other. So this is like a version 2 of it. I thought, it would be interesting to sort of, as that was very much about mirroring the gesture, I thought, what would happen if you mirrored the gesture while you're mirroring also your image? So you have the gesture, digital gesture, but you also have your remediated self. So there's the meeting of the two. But as I was making that, I remembered this work of a former student of mine, Miro Galic, who did this wonderful performance, a screen recording of him just caressing himself with his own mouse, basically. So he would be looking in the camera, and he would just be sort of slowly feeling himself with the mouse pointer. And that was, he has that on his website as oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the name. I would say we should look it up. I'll look it up. It's such a weary day, and my brain is fried. But that piece was amazing, and also quite an endurance piece, and also quite mesmerizing. It's such a slow, and it sucks you in. So I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if he would reenact his own piece within this web piece? Something also I'd never sort of heard before, that an artwork was reperformed within an artwork. And I thought that would be gorgeous with Graham to have all these sort of layers of echoing and going on. So I was quite excited. So I asked Miron, so would you be interested in that, or is that too much? He said, yeah, I'm going for it. Because of course it changed this one little thing. Of course, he was first of all framed within a work, and there's this little second mouse. But he took the challenge and made this reinterpretation of his own work. And he did it beautifully, because what he did as an intervention in the piece, because instead of just doing what I just did, what he did I think he did like a full, can you remember, like a full maybe 7-minute solo trace of himself, and then he walked away, and then the mouse did the whole movement on black. So he did the intervention sort of within this piece, which I never even thought was possible. So that was really gorgeous. um, uh, and
Yeah.
it made the work. It gave the work a presentation because he was doing a performance in the space. Otherwise, it's just this website which you have to look at home, which we just urge people to do. But it's a web-based piece. Anybody can go there anytime, and you can spend the amount of time with you, whatever you want. Just be annoyed or have a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
Miron really made this special presentation by reenacting his own work, which was a special moment.
Yeah, yeah. I also really enjoyed it indeed. Also because it added this element of who's the leading entity in like describing what you see, because that's also what like starts to happen in Graham's performance, that you don't know if the audience is reacting to what he says or that he is describing what the audience is actually doing. And I think there's really a dialogue going on there. And at the moment you don't know what is happening anymore. And when Miron left the stage and you still saw the arrow making the contour, so to say, of his face, you also were like, who is actually in charge nowadays? And I think that's also where the interesting role of technology comes in, like who is performing what in that sense. So it really added this layer, and also transposing video technology to the digital, the online realm. So yeah.
But it still was confusing because, and that's also the position I think of net-based art or net art. The questions from the audience came, so how is the audience involved here? And nobody seemed to realize that they could just pick up their laptop and go there and participate in a way with the work. Sort of passivity, which when it concerned net art, which is weird because it's there, you can go there right now. Sort of this.
Yeah, in this regard, I do think maybe what we're doing now is a more proper presentation of your work, because people can
they could
be at home, go to the website
right now. Yeah, totally.
and there's still this sort of semi-collectivity that I enjoy when you do things like this online, that we're all there. And if you go to your website and watch the work, you still hear us doing the blah blah about it. So it encourages you maybe a little bit more to keep on exploring the work than when you just do it at home, when you're alone behind your computer, so to say. So
yeah,
just happy to be with you on the net, so to say.
Absolutely. I'm just going to post the work of Miron in the chat. Oh, could you do that?
Yes. Did you find it?
Yeah, the piece is called Cursor. It's from 2016. And you can see his original video. It'll give you a very good impression of
but I don't have the link.
Yeah, Garlic.nl and
isn't it actually currently in the show you curated for Upstream?
That's a whole different subject. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's a different work. Yeah.
There's also work by Miron in there. So. But there is a work in that show.
Yeah.
So you curated the last Upstream.gallery show.
Yeah, speaking of, that it's related. So as I just said, this whole thing of the dissociation and the mirror image. So the whole show is called Echo and is about that in a way. It's about the mediated self. And that is, of course, very much what's going on here. And the issues that come with the mediated self. So, of course, we like just being reduced to a mouse, the extension of your body being this mouse pointer is sort of, it's very crude and can be very annoying. And a lot of people get annoyed by the restrictions of the mediated self, especially in these COVID-19 lockdown days. We're so like reduced to our mediated selves. It gives headaches and the whole lot. I mean, there's a lot of annoyance, and it can even lead to psychological issues, I believe. I mean, it is an issue. But I also wanted to point out the beauty and the wonder of the mediated self, and that the mediated self, if you look at it as an entity on itself, as it having its own properties and medium specificity, it's quite magical. And we know that because the media art is magical. It does sort of open a world of which has its own language and its own material, like any art form. But with digital art, it has its own quality, and the show is about that as well. It's really about how to express yourself within this realm, how this realm is autonomous and independent and has its own beauty. So in a way that is related. Oh, and the piece I wanted to show is one that I added to it. It's a piece I made for Open. It's an online platform. And again, it's like a mirror piece. So this is dropshadow.lather.org, a piece called Drop Shadow. And again, it requires you to activate the camera. That's why I thought it might be interesting to show this parallel to the previous one. And what it does, it pops up a standard interface element, a drop shadow, which you probably can't see my other zoom image, but I'm like moving around.
You actually are looking at Jan Robert doing movements, indeed. But
yes, so I'm just moving my head around. And it's tracing. It's using facial recognition, so it's analyzing my features and using that to navigate, or to check out where I am. And it's sort of tracing me, and it's, in that case, the sculpture is, yeah, whatever, that could be fun. He's got that one swinging around.
We're going to show this in parallel with Jan Robert doing the movement to prove that it actually works.
Yeah, it's funny. After Martin and Nedam actually set up this piece, sort of, it's like screen yoga. So like just sort of spin around and move your neck a bit.
It's definitely the net art version of Nederland in Beweging. We should do this every morning for 15 minutes. Put on dropshadow.lather.org and move along with us. But
it's just annoying with this. I've made the piece like it's like always moving away from you. You can never look behind it. It's just sort of, it's just always moving in the opposite direction. So.
But it's funny because it does really add a layer that we see now. You doing the movement and then the object moving, because normally you are guiding the shape, so to say, but now it really looks like you are the shape, since we see you do the movement, and then it starts to look very human.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's actually really weird that you can easily identify with it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because facial recognition, of course, used really quite a lot now, and it's usually, of course, just to identify your image for database usage. They just want to categorize you, and it's all about the money. It's just to, of course, to better target you for advertisement purposes. And of course, we know, like in countries like China, it's used more aggressively to identify you for different reasons, to sort of monitor you and penalize you. So I thought it was quite interesting to sort of also use it in a formal way. And,
absolutely, but I must say, when I was in the exhibition, there is a slight hesitation that you think, I'm in an exhibition space. Do I really want to put my camera on or so? So it felt, but it's very weird because like everywhere you are on the net, there's nothing private. But when it's just me and my browser, I was kind of okay. But now I thought, yeah, but I'm actually visiting an exhibition. So.
Yeah. Who knows what they'll do with my information?
Exactly. Yeah. What am I going to be confronted with? But
did you go to the opening?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay,
I wasn't there.
You had to enable your microphone and camera anyway. We didn't use the camera, but the microphone did. So it was, you gave Open everything to be at the opening, which was great fun.
I heard there was maybe a possibility that it came back at the finissage, so maybe we can still...
we're going to rerun that. It was it's like a sort of interfacial performance in a way. It was a temporary interfacial feature in which the whole setup, this is a setup we did. It was this dream Constant had. Once upon a time, he envisioned sort of, wouldn't it be cool if you could sort of experience sound in a sort of a more natural way within this flat browser-based context. So instead of just all these stupid little windows next to each other, it was like fancy it being sort of more natural, that you can walk around each other and hear each other. So this was one big experiment trying to see if we could do that. We started with little dots, which was the first show at Constant, and you could add your name, and then for the second, I added the avatars because for my show, so you could be whatever. You add a nice selection of avatars or emojis you could be in. And then when you came close to somebody, this little wheel started spinning around the avatar. It went solid, and then suddenly, boom, you had an audio connection. You could start talking, and it was amazing. It really was amazing, and it was like a festival atmosphere where people be running around and just hanging around works and raving.
And you could like, how many people could be in one circle of audio connection, or was it always
Very
just two?
much as would stand together, but of course now and then the server had to be restarted. There was some crashes, but that was fun as well. But people would stand in groups of 4 or 5. I mean, too much, then also the talk becomes messy. So there were like little groups standing here and there, and they were just chatting away, and it was like the work of like Turbo Avidon, which has a lovely soundtrack underneath, or Cassim Equator has some beautiful music under it. People just standing next to the music and chatting together, like being at a festival. Was really super cool, really nice.
Oh,
But
that's so cool.
that's all gone. That was like an opening feature, but we'll do a rerun. And
No, that would be really nice. But the show is still open and
you can
definitely
go there right
worth
now. You can put that in the chat as well.
visiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't dare opening the tab because I think it's a noisy exhibition, Jan Robert. Like every time I was closing one work, the other work started to make noise.
Yeah, as soon as you move around, the next one starts. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I put in the chat. I couldn't find the Miran Galic work, so if you put that still in the
But
chat.
I can't post anything, right?
You can post. I think you can post.
Can I post? I'm not in YouTube right now, or am
Okay.
I? Oh, I might. Oh, wait a minute. I'll have a run there.
Yeah, all these various platforms start.
Yeah, there's the work. I just posted it. It's Miran's work. Cursor.
Cool. So definitely also check that one out. So when is it actually that you first saw the work of Dan Graham? Do you still remember that?
I do. I think it was like in '99 or something. In God knows where, some German major Kunsthalle, some exhibition. So I was still young, just finished or just last year of my art school, and or might be even earlier. It might be during art school. It did sort of really stick. It's so funny, just this big, massive exhibition space, and there's this little television cube, the old cube televisions we used to have at the shows, and these little sky settees with gray sky on them. It's this classic gallery atmosphere, and then you just sit down and look at this murky screen, and then I completely got sucked in. It was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. What is he doing? This is amazing. Yeah, it was really awesome.
Yeah. And he like it's interesting because every time I see people like trying to literally re-perform his piece, you see how much of an amazing performer he was. Like he has a background also in stand-up comedy, and I think you don't see it when you watch the piece because it doesn't feel like an excellent performance. But already when I show it to students, I sometimes want to make an excerpt of it, but actually it's almost impossible because it is a continuous flood of words. He almost never interrupts his speech, so which is a quality in its own, but also the natural way. And just like once you, like, for the people at home, once you open the work of Jan Robert and you try to explore it, also try to describe what you're doing and the movements you're making, and then you see how hard it is to make a live transcription of your movement in space and that of others. So there's a real quality also in the performative aspect, which is just not even the most interesting part of the work, so to say. It is really on the concept, but it just works on every level.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there's a high level of improvisation, right?
exactly.
He's in the flow, as you would say in improvisational
Absolutely.
music, and he's you don't see him stuttering much. It might be, but it's really just goes into one and the next, and that is hard, definitely.
Uh, uh,
How did Emil do that? How did you think his performance was?
um,
He tried.
he tried, but
Yeah,
he
pretty good.
like he's also, we're talking of Emil Zio now, and we're kind of watched like the documentation of the performance he did. He is a very good performer as well, but I think he has a different kind of quality. Like what I love about Emil is the way he works with his hands. And it's funny because if you watch many of his artworks, you see the hand and gestures with the hands are often like a recurring element in his work. So, but he had the same level of awareness, and that's because he's quite of a physical performer, so to say, Emil. The awareness of his body when he was describing it, I really felt he was like connected, so to say, to all his bodily signs, and he was trying to describe that, and he managed in that. But
Yeah, the big difference, because of course you'll be showing the piece later.
yeah, we're gonna see it. But
So his interpretation was more a narrative solution, right? So he created this narrative setting in which he was very descriptive, but then he would go into sort of the future and look back at himself, and so and that you also see. So he's far more a storyteller.
Yeah.
And a very strong storyteller with the gestures and the whole lot. Whereas Dan Graham, of course, is in that meditation. He's here
Absolutely.
now, and he's constantly improvising, and that's a very different act.
Yeah.
And
that works on all the levels, because what Emil did is like translating it to current technology. So as I said, like where Dan Graham did a sort of physical and oral manifestation of the feedback loop, Emil looks into networks that go like transcontinental, so 3G, 4G networks, internet, like cables, and so on. So there's also like the feedback loop is really also here and now. It's just like what you see is what you get playbacked or so, and digital technologies and like communication networks nowadays also like expand vastly over the entire earth, so to say. So I think that's also why Emil was sort of out there, and Graham was a sort of inwarded. Yeah, and I think Emil also did get this element of time that is in Graham's work, but also extended that indeed. So it's not about like what do we get played back that we're actually doing now, but how will what we are doing now be played back to us in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So there's this extension of time. But I do think he grasped an interesting element of Graham's work there, because I wouldn't say Graham is so much of a media artist, but he's really an artist that deals with time and works with time and playback. Because in his other works, there's often architectural shapes that you see yourself, like you be recorded, you get played back your past self in the next architectural space, or he transforms the walls so that you have a different feeling of time and space. So, wow, yeah. But I think, long story to say that Emil really grasped some elements of Graham's body of work, so to say.
yeah,
Shall we?
go there.
Shall we just like go and watch it?
Yeah, I think.
Or maybe I'm gonna have a look at the chat if there's people commenting on Graham's work, Jan Robert's work, our chat, Zoom exercises. Oh, that's nice. Your work as a Zoom exercise in the middle of every Zoom conference. I think
yeah, just integrated in the software. Good idea.
that would be really nice. Yeah. So yeah. Anyone? No, I think
Let's bring in Emil.
yeah. So I would say play the tape.
I'm rocking back and forwards on my hip. My right hip is carrying most of the weight. I'm rocking back and forwards, right to left, forward and back slightly, only so slightly. I'm kind of tapping my left foot like I'm pumping up a tiny mattress or a small pet inflatable kind of mattress lilo thing. I'm feeling a sense of attention. I feel like you're paying attention. You're looking at me right now. I'm feeling some kind of neurochemical releases in my brain, some endorphins, some kind of anticipatory stresses that are releasing some kind of pleasure and fight or flight responses in my brain right now. I'm going to change the posture, kind of moving away, getting that energy released on the right-hand side. I'm going to flip over and continue this slow tapping of the inflatable, invisible mattress. I'm feeling a kind of sweat, like a slight sweat response from my glands. It's kind of warm in here, and I'm feeling that. I'm having some bodily reactions to being here in front of you. You are the audience, and I am the performer right now. We have many lenses amongst us. I'm feeling the UHF frequencies from this lav mic move through my buttock, through my hip, going out to the bio box. I'm sensing the kind of ultra high frequencies moving through skin tissue, body tissue, hairs, gene, all these textures and meaty, fleshy things. I can feel the updates, the background refreshes going from my phone in my right pocket through my body to a Vodafone base station somewhere. I'm feeling the Uber push notification move through my hip and return again, asking me to give a 5-star rating. I'm now closing my eyes a bit, kind of rocking back and forwards again, feeling quite comfortable. I've heard some tremors in the audience that make me feel a bit more comfortable, some kind of appreciative small laughs, which go a long way to make me feel content up here. I'm looking out onto the audience. I'm seeing lots of faces looking at me. I see some faces I recognize and some I don't. I am witnessing people as a kind of half distinct and then half kind of blurry effect. There are some people using their hand to support their face and to blind themselves from that light in the top right-hand corner. People are using a combination of forefinger and maybe second finger to support themselves, and they're leaning against these new couch seats which have been installed recently, and I hope you're enjoying them very much. As I move forward, I sort of engage with people a bit more. I'm kind of looking at people. I'm seeing them kind of not look at me occasionally or look at me. I feel a tensing up of people's spine and their kind of sphincter, thinking that this may turn into some kind of bad stand-up comedy routine, or TEDx Ari Bimonstrat. Things are going well, things are going pretty well. No one's left as yet and no one's arrived. So this is a good thing. As I look out, I see the lens of the projector flicker behind glass. I am sensing stillness and attention on the stage. I'm sensing some 4G in the room, a touch of 5G, and a little bit of 3G. That's the mix right now. Yeah, all these frequencies are heading off into base stations around the neighborhood. I'm streaming out to Instagram live now within this zone. I am sending this through the Lab 111 router, going up into the router and returning back to the hand. I am streaming now through Instagram and people are joining. There's a sense of audiences being connected between us in this room and an audience within this hand right here. People are slowly joining. There's a couple of followers who are joining. They are not interacting and keeping things quite restrained for now. There's an option to wave, and the waving hand is a non-confrontational gesture that connotes openness and friendship. So I've received a few of those now. They've come in. A number of them have come in. Sam de Groot, Samara, Arvo Leo. It's happening. It's happening. The image is being sent from my hand into the TAT-14 undersea cable, which is being transmitted out from Kortrijk in the Netherlands out to the east coast of the United States to a Facebook, Instagram data center. It arrives at Tuckerton, New Jersey. We are currently underwater. We are transmitting ourselves underwater. We are underwater right now. We're transmitting ourselves through the water, underneath the waves, underneath the commercial fisheries, the jellyfish, the orcas. We are under the North Atlantic and it feels good. Audiences are together. The image is currently being transmitted through 9 layers of glass. So the light hitting my face is now passing through 9 layers of glass in a Japanese lens. It's moving through that glass and hitting a sensor, which is then encoding the footage and turning that light into a data file, which can be machine read as a compressed sequence of digits. The image is being passed through an HDMI converter box, moving from HDMI to a Cat5 Ethernet cable, being passed through multiple layers of encoding and decoding. I'm looking at this image a year from now. I'm looking at this image a year from now. I'm applying for a residency. I'm editing this footage down from 10 minutes down to 1 minute, so I've got to do some editing. I am using a laptop to edit this footage down. It is a 1 minute video. I'm looking at this footage a year from now. I'm looking at this footage a year from now, but I'm looking at it now. This footage, I'm looking at it 10 years from now. In 10 years' time, I'm looking at this footage. I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at it now in 10 years' time. I'm showing a couple of kids. I have some children now. And they're kind of interested, but they put it in the category of dad's old weird art stuff. And that's okay. I'm explaining about these performances, which I've been doing, and they kind of get it. And we move on. It's time for lunch. I'm looking at this footage 25 years from now. 25 years from now, I'm looking at this footage. It's, I've had a knee replacement. I can't walk very well. A number of illnesses have come through me. I am still here, but there's a few diseases which have passed through and left again. I'm looking at this image 25 years from now. I'm looking at this image 25 years from now. This image, right now, this image, 25 years from now. The image is part of a presentation organized by some friends at a surprise birthday party at my care home. I'm not so into it, but I see them happy, and I like that. It's part of a presentation of different videos from the past, different things that I've made. I'm looking at this image 35 years from now. I'm looking at this image 35 years from now. Like now is when I'm watching it. I'm watching it 35 years from now. This is when I'm watching it 35 years from now. I'm labeling things correctly. I'm trying to do some near-death data hygiene, making sure things are dated, going through different time allocations, being very clear with my labeling logic, if anyone's interested, after I go. I'm looking at this footage 45 years from now. I'm looking at this footage 45 years from now, and this is the end. Thank you. Thanks.
Hello and welcome back. And a big thank you to Emil for doing this performance back in, I was about to say back in the days, but it was just earlier this year, but it feels like another universe. It's disturbing to see a performance in a space with people next to each other, going on. It gives this eerie feeling. But yeah, that was then, and luckily we still have net art going strong for now. I think I want to leave it at that for tonight. I think we saw a nice scope of what then Graham can trigger, like the creative and artistic strands that he gave to us to work with. So thank you, Jan Robert, for showing your work to us and in the way that then Graham inspired you. And keep up the good work. Also at Upstream.gallery. Hope to see you there at the finissage. And yeah, thanks to Emil and thanks to Dan Graham and thanks to you all for watching. I hope to see you back next week at 8 for a screening program organized by Martijn van Boven. He is working real hard on it right now. It's going to be abstract video all over. So hope to see you then. Thank you all and have a good night. Bye.